In 1974, 6 ice climbers faced perilous conditions on Mount Katadhin, battling an unforgiving winter storm with temperatures plummeting, winds reaching 100 miles per hour, and the threat of avalanches. With no rescue in sight and on the brink of freezing to death, they attempted to descend the treacherous mountain, each step a fight for survival. This harrowing tragedy would lead to the creation of an elite mountain rescue team, who are still saving lives today. David Goodman is a correspondent for Globe magazine and brings us this gripping story. David, walk us through the events of 1974 around these young climbers on Mount Katadhin.
Well, 1974 was the dawn of a new era known as the Ice Revolution. It was the beginning of a time when people could, as a result of new tools and equipment, which enabled climbers to now go straight up vertical ice, climbing waterfalls. And in New Hampshire, there was a group of hotshot young climbers who were pushing the envelope of climbing into zones where it had never gone before. So this group of 6 young climbers took themselves and their talents and their new equipment to Mount Katadhin to attempt a new route. And that's when things went terribly wrong.
What went horribly wrong here?
The climbers started out on a weirdly warm winter day that it was almost 40 degrees outside, and as a result, many of them didn't pack their warmest gear. As they were climbing, the weather suddenly took a dramatic turn, and winds picked up, the temperature plummeted, and they were caught in a blizzard that happened in the blink of an eye. You know, the lead climber, Bob Proudman, described cowering with his head between his knees as he's getting strafed with wind-driven snow. It threatens their very lives.
So tell us then about the rescue attempt. What transpired on the mountain?
So all of a sudden, when things go wrong on the side of the mountain, these climbers are stuck 2,000 feet up an ice and rock face. The Baxter Park Rangers are looking up, and there is no way that they have the ability to save these men. One of the climbers caught in the storm who manages to get down, Bob Proudman, who's the leader, when he reaches the bottom of the mountain and is able to contact the Rangers, he tells them, "You have to call Rick Wilcox and my friends in North Conway, New Hampshire." This wasn't a straightforward thing. Baxter State Park and their rangers pride themselves on being able to look after themselves and was very much sort of a conservative and very focused on protecting their mountain. So they are forced to call in these top hotshot climbers from New Hampshire to save the day. And when they get to the mountain in the middle of this horrendous, I have to say unimaginable conditions, 100-mile-an-hour winds, 25 below zero, wind chills of -70. And they get to the foot of the mountain where there's a ranger cabin, knock on the door, and the ranger on duty opens the door, sees these bearded, shaggy guys who introduce themselves as, "We're the rescue team from New Hampshire," and the ranger doesn't believe them. And he closes the door in their face and tells them to go sleep, in an unheated cabin in these conditions. And so what began was kind of a very dramatic, high stakes showdown at the foot of the mountain where the climbers say, basically, "Get out of our way, we're going to save our friends."
What transpires?
What transpires is that the 6 climbers who are stuck on the side of the mountain are realizing one by one that they have to save themselves or die. 5 of the 6 climbers, in various harrowing stories of how they manage, partly blind, they can't even feel their legs, they're so frostbitten. But there is a 6th man, Tom Ketty, stuck on the mountain. And that's where the North Conway climbers, led by Rick Wilcox, come in an attempt to save him. The rescuers already know it's a long shot. The Tom Ketty has been stuck for 36 hours in these hellacious conditions, but they battle their way up through the storm, charging past the rangers who wanted to tell them what to do and how to do it, and get down to find that Tom Ketty has frozen to death. So their rescue turns into a body recovery, and it's a disaster that changes lives forever.
David, looking back 50 years later, what is the lasting impact of this tragedy?
Rick Wilcox and his colleagues in the climbing community formed the Mountain Rescue Service in New Hampshire, which Globe readers will read about regularly as the group that is sent out on some of these rescues in the White Mountains. And the individuals themselves who were involved in the climb, in this ill-fated climb, go on to sort of change the world. So everyone and everything comes out differently in the end, and we're still feeling those effects a half century later.
David Goodman, correspondent for Globe Magazine, thank you for sharing it with us and joining us here today.
Thanks very much.